and I got my first job. My first job was accountant for my father. He took me to the Rabkin Paper Company on Debevoise Street in Williamsburg, in Brooklyn, and he put these big ledgers down in front of me, and he said, "Here, you put in the entries, this is what comes in and this is what goes out. Write them down and add them up." This was a two-man business, a big business. My father, Sam, was the outside man, and his brother Joe was the inside man. Joe was the cutter and the arranger, and Sam was the schmoozer and out and talking to everybody. And he was liked by everybody. My father was a very well-liked person throughout his life, and eventually when they went up to, they started spending summers in Greenwood Lake, New York, which is about 60, 80 miles away from New York City. He became the sort of de facto rabbi. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and as the various Jews, came up there, and they started a Jewish center, and they started having services, and my father became, without being ordained, the de facto rabbi. In fact, he was called a rabbi, but yet he was also incredibly ecumenical, because he'd meet the Catholic Church, priest, and the minister, the local minister. They'd all call. And when he hit his 80th birthday, they had a big celebration up at Greenwood Lake, and they presented him with, plaques and awards and all that. And so he really made an impact, of the details of the war, which was when I was a young teenager, and I had a big map. I also had a particular map because my father told me where Gorbachev was located. And it was right on the Dnieper.
I know the Dnieper.
And the front was going one way and then the other, the Russians and the Germans. So I remember, and I'd mark it in. And I cut out the articles in the paper. I still have some of those scrapbooks.
Really?
Second World War.
Second World War. Well, we were there with Ida.
Yeah.
She had breast cancer there, and then my mother, we went there to help her to recuperate. And Eugene was in the army, and so she was very worried about him.
Right.
His cousin got killed in the Battle of the Bulge.
Buddy,
remember Buddy?
Yeah, Buddy Johnson.
Buddy Johnson, right, exactly.
Yeah, because that's the only casualty. I remember that. It made a big impression on my mother, too. So she was very glad when I got a deferment from the Korean War. Everybody wasn't an intellectual, but there was a respect for achievement. And I remember this because I grew up next to an Italian family in Bensonhurst called the Tarantellos. And there was very clear. There was a Southern Italian family who felt that the job of the children was to get a job in the neighborhood, marry a girl from the immediate circle of acquaintances. They didn't care if you went to college at all. While if you had to go to college, and then you had to achieve, and if that meant, you had to go away to school in Ohio, or California, Indiana, that was all right, because that's what you had to do to achieve. And there was I ended up a professor and a writer, and I got a number of jobs in Indiana, and then I went to Kansas, and then I was hired at Rutgers, where I spent 30 years until I retired. Anybody who came in with anybody else, and I've always liked that. The Rabkins have turned out pretty stable successful group. They came over without money, they established themselves in different places, and they all moved on, and their children moved on successfully, and that's really not all that common. I mean, you meet people who haven't seen their family for 25 years. In any case, oh no, I felt that all from the beginning. From like my earliest memories, really, are the old singers with Grandpa Mendel, and he was a character. He was like something out of Tolstoy, or Shalom Aleichem or something. But he would sit and he was also an autocrat, a patriarch. He held sway. And we would have these incredibly long seders because nothing was skipped. And your time of hunger, I would remember that. I don't know, you, me, and Jerry would play outside on the stoop. I remember, oh God, when are we going to eat?